Hey, I wanted to show you a league starter that I played and practiced in fresh SSF softcore for the last 20 hours, pretty much right after the announcement of Lake of Kalandra and patch notes was released. I was able to reach T16 maps, kill Eldritch bosses, get watchstones and get a bunch of altar points. The build is Rage Vortex Berserker. For Rage Vortex you want to sacrifice rage and Berserker Ascendancy helps with that, so I use Blade Storm for generating rage and Intimidating Cry for sacrificing some of it and later buffing Rage Vortex to snapshot out damage. Because Rage Vortex scales with duration, you can snapshot 2 double damage vortexes that will be spinning in a boss phase for a while and you will be able to burst bosses very quickly. I think my burst damage right now it is about 2 million DPS with 500 PDPX arcs that I got in 20 hours of fresh start. For defenses we got Determination, Max Res and Fortify. Fortify right now versus bosses is unreliable sometimes, versus Siren Exarch and Eterofoils I just didn't have it. I had like 1 or 2 stacks of fortification, but it will be significantly buffed next league. The rest of the defenses are kinda over the place, like Regen. It feels good but not really a defense. In mapping I recommend running a Jade Flask, it will give you up to 40 to 50% chance to avoid attacks. In maps it's really good, but avoidance not really a defense mechanic, it works until it doesn't. And Berserker Ascendancy gives us all the damage. Benefits of having a lot of rage, you're really fast and you do more damage. Then Aspect of Hunter is 40% more damage, Warbringer if played correctly is 50% more damage on snapshotting. Now I want to talk about my leveling and maybe give some tips and thoughts. You want to build from a duelist first, kill Hillock, get Splitting Steel from a reward, check vendors for thrillings, you want green red thrilling, create now a Marauder and level with it, using a Splitting Steel on slot chance to bleed support. Chance to bleed in early acts is really good because of flat added damage, which is good because most likely you're not gonna have a good weapon. While leveling you shouldn't be worried about being efficient with the points, get all the damage points, all the power points that you need, you can respec them later, you get 20 free regrets in acts for a reason. At level 4 you want to get War Banner, which you will replace later with Dread Banner. You get Frost Blinks at level 4, you might not be able to use it right away because of low intelligence, and you get Ancestral Totem for burst damage. Then later in Act 1 I got some slam action going on with Earth Shatter, Leap Slam and Intimidating Cry. So even more burst damage because Intimidating Cry makes our 2 next hits do double damage. While leveling, make sure you use vendor recipes for weapon. You vendor a good base type weapon, Rustic Sash, Magic or Rare, and Blacksmith Whetstone, and you get a weapon that you will not be replacing for a while on league start. In Act 2 I recommend using Herald of Ash because it helps a lot with clear. If you want you can use Herald of Purity, it might result in a more single target damage. Also, at this point your hit chance will suffer a lot, so rush to Resolute Technique on a tree. Later you get Close Combat Support, which will allow your Leap Slam to be even faster with it. Doing lab with a Fortify support on Earth Shatter felt extra safe, benefits of taking 20% less damage. In the first lap we get Rage Generation from Crave the Slaughter Ascendancy, and respect into Rage Vortex Blood Blaze Storm. Just make sure to get Leech Nodes on the tree before or after that. Rage Vortex spans left and without recovery, it will feel unsafe. Your links for Rage Vortex are Close Combat Support, Fortify and Pulverize, and for Blade Storm is Close Combat Support, Rage Support, and maybe you can feed Pulverize later cause you might not have enough sockets at this point. There is a bunch of skills that you don't really need to level, like Intimidating Cry, Frost Blinks, Marks. You will struggle with attributes because of it, and the power you get is not worth investing in it. Plus it will result in additional pressure on your mana, which will lead to some uncomfortable situation. Rest of the leveling was very smooth. This build with each cluster on a tree gets even better and faster, and each ascendancy you get from labs makes you only better. You get Warbringer in Cruel Lab and Warcry cluster for the mastery, so now your Leap Slam does not spend your exerts, and all your exerts will go into damage, which will make you only faster. After Merc Lap, you will get even more faster because of triple benefits from the rage, and you will be zooming from these points in maps. The last Uber lap is of course Aspect of Carnage, because we're Berserker for a reason. We want more damage and take even more damage. Maps felt very chill and nice, and I wasn't really dying or in danger until high tier red maps, but there all I wanted to is spawn Eldritch bosses as quickly as possible. For my Atlas progression, for my Atlas points I picked June nodes, Harvest node and Essences, blocked everything else, got a bunch of map sustain nodes and Kirk missions, because Kirk missions is how I got all my high tier red maps for spawning bosses. June is really good for the Unveil craft, like 120% fees on weapon, that's how I got my 500 PTPX axe. Elrion crafts on rings, damage nodes and damage crafts for amulet. And now I'm at a position where I progressed my Atlas to tier 16, got a bunch of Atlas points, got watchstones. At this point you can generate stuff to reroll into next guy or progress this guy to kill Ubers. This build is definitely capable of it. You can progress into reaching 5 or 7 mil damage, and melee can give it even more and more tanky. For me, I will be working on a more hardcore version of this build. The things that I'm missing is pretty much a good rares, because instead of getting them, I pushed content further. I was going into high tier red maps, but I definitely can solve my chaos rares. I can get the suppression cap in yellow maps, and only after that I am able to push red maps and conquer the game. Yeah, I definitely recommend to play this build. I feel like it's a very powerful build that gets a lot of power just from playing it correctly, putting your totems down, playing with the banner placements, playing with the cries, and you're able to snapshot and multiply your damage into killing and snapshotting damage and killing bosses.